Hello everyone once again to our Solaris Talks studio. Now we're going to start the second panel discussion which we scheduled for today. This panel discussion will be devoted to hydrogen technology and hydrogen buses. I'm hosting in our studio representatives of 4 cities and bus operators and the representative of Hydrogen Europe. Let me welcome in our studio, looking from the left to right on my screen, I would like to introduce you Magdalena Przybyła, the CEO of the bus operator in Konin in Poland. Hi. We have with us Bart Kraaijvanger, representing Connection bus operator in the Netherlands. We have with us Petra Piffer, who is the general director of SASA Bolzano in Italy, of course. Welcome to our studio Silvia Kaupa-Götzl, CEO of the ÖBB Postbus in Austria. And last but not least, we have with us the CEO of Hydrogen Europe, Jorgo Chatzimarkakis.
Hello.
Very warm welcome. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be the panelists at our hydrogen discussion at Solaris Talks. Okay, so let me go to the first questions, which I will address to those operators who already have experience from deploying hydrogen buses. So I will ask Petra Piffer from Bolzano. What is your experience from using hydrogen buses, because you already had them some years ago?
Yes, good morning to all, first of all. We have since 2013 already hydrogen buses in our service, with a very good experience on that. Which means handling, performance, either from maintenance and drivers' perspective. This brought us to decide to enlarge our fleet. So with this year, we have 12 more hydrogen buses in our service. They are now, since a couple of months, really in a normal duty, and also there our experience is a very positive one. So we think that this is a good way to on the path of decarbonization. The zero emissions for us means electric bus. Either battery electric and hydrogen buses, and we will go on this path also in the future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you much for that. And let me ask you one more question about the infrastructure, because I think this is one of the key challenges for many operators who plan to have hydrogen buses. How you deal with that issue in Bolzano?
First of all, when you approach the whole hydrogen theme, let's say, you have to approach it in a holistic way. So don't make the mistake on thinking you are buying a bus. You are not buying a bus. You are neither buying a bus and his refueling station, but you are thinking about a whole system. Much more, in fact, when you are speaking about hydrogen than on electric buses, where even you have to think about the whole system. Because with hydrogen, you have to think about also on the producing side of hydrogen. You have to think, where do you get it? From where do you get the hydrogen? Who will bring it to you, and how? And what kind of, obviously, of hydrogen? We are speaking of the green one, that has to be clear. So you have to think about the whole value chain of hydrogen when you are thinking about buying hydrogen buses.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you touched a very interesting point in your answer, talking about the holistic approach to the hydrogen challenges, I would say, and transition in the public transportation. And let me ask right now, Bart from Connection Company Netherlands. You also had already deployed hydrogen buses in the past, and at the moment you are deploying another 20 units. What are your experience in that field?
Yes, indeed. Our experience goes back to 2015 when we started a pilot project with two retrofitted hydrogen buses from 2004. Those buses were originally for 2004, but we modified them with the latest hydrogen technology. And it was a pilot project of just two buses in the south of the Netherlands. And yeah, they were not that long in operation, but it was good to get some experience with hydrogen buses. And our second project was under the European subsidy program of Emission. There are 4 hydrogen buses with a hydrogen trailer behind it. So that was a new concept. And that was next to the hydrogen challenge, also the challenge to get the license plates on those buses. That took longer than expected. So we only could take them in operation in the beginning of 2020. So that was those were our first 2 experiences with hydrogen buses. But now we are expecting at the end of this year another 20 hydrogen buses under the Jive 2 program. So yeah, we think that next to the battery electric buses, also the hydrogen buses has an important place in the transition towards a fossil-free bus fleet.
Mm-hmm. And how you manage this issue with the infrastructure in your situation, from your perspective?
In our Emission project, we are refilling the buses at the public hydrogen station of Air Liquide. That's done when the buses are in service. They are coming next to a hydrogen refilling station, and there we refill our hydrogen buses. For the next 20 hydrogen buses, we will get a hydrogen refilling station next to our depot where we can refill our buses.
Okay, thank you very much for that. This is very interesting. So we already heard the experience from those operators who had used hydrogen buses, but we have also with us representatives of those companies which plan to have these hydrogen buses. Very soon it will happen in the city of Konin in Poland, where Magdalena Przybyła is the CEO of the public transport operator. What could you tell us a bit more about the plans of Konin in terms of hydrogen technology, and what main challenges you are facing at the moment before implementation of these vehicles?
At the very beginning, I would like to thank Solaris for the invitation. For us, it is very important to hear about the experience of those that are operating with hydrogen buses. And now a few words about the Konin plans for hydrogen technology. Konin plans should be considered in a much wider scale because Konin is not only focused on hydrogen technology on public transport. Of course, hydrogen buses and public transport is a very important and pioneer part of this plan. But we think here about the achievement of the synergy effect for all sectors, public transport, but also for private sector. Konin for 1,000 years is considered as a city of power engineering city and coal mining region, lignite region. And we think that if it's not a future anymore, but on our experience, we can build the future together. We established the agreement for a fair energy transition of Eastern Greater Poland. And hydrogen is the main plan for our region. Very soon, next year, as you told, we will deploy the first hydrogen bus, Solaris Urbino 12 hydrogen. And the first challenge for us is just to deploy the first hydrogen bus. And then, of course, the plan is 100% of the fleet. But at first, we decide to outsource everything that it's possible. It's much easier for us because especially we don't have complete national law regulation here about it. So it's easier to work together. But for that, we need reliable partners. And Solaris is one of them. Thank you very much. But for the real challenge for us at the moment is to think how to minimize the long-term running costs. And the key is fuel, cheap hydrogen. And we think that the solution is own, stable, renewable energy source. Cheap energy means cheap hydrogen.
Thank you very much for that. And let me address right now my question to Silvia Kaupa-Götzl, who is the CEO of the largest Austrian bus operator, but I think also one of the largest bus operators in general in Europe. At the moment, you have a few thousand buses in the operation, but none of them yet hydrogen. But you already had some experience from testing this technology. Why you believe that it might be some good alternative for you as a bus operator?
First, I would also like to thank you for the invitation. It's great to discuss this really important topic because, as you know, the fight to fight climate change is the most important thing, the most important challenge ahead of us at the moment. And this is why we are interested in hydrogen technology. We've heard from the other speakers before me how important it is to actually think about those things. And what our experiences are is that we need something, some sort of bus that is emission-free, that runs emission-free, because at the moment, as you know, we are operating a bus fleet which is mainly diesel buses. And of course, public transport is much more efficient and of course transmits less CO2 emissions than private cars. But we have to do something about diesel buses. And so we're constantly working on how to solve this issue, this challenge that lies ahead of us. And one of the solutions is hydrogen, we believe. Unfortunately, we are not the ones who can decide just by ourselves on what to do in Austria. We would like to try out hydrogen buses because we believe that this technology has a great future in Austria. We think it would fit very well with our operations, but we need partners. And why is that? Because in Austria, unfortunately, we don't have a strategy as far as buses are concerned. So we don't have any infrastructure for hydrogen buses at the moment. There is insufficient financing as concerns hydrogen buses. And like was already mentioned, of course, the cost of hydrogen as such, this is going to be, as far as operations are concerned, a main issue. And we need our partners, meaning like in Austria, buses or are tendered, bus operations are tendered. So we need our partners to decide that they want us to switch to buses that don't run on diesel, but on hydrogen or electric buses, whatever it is. So we would like to move a bit quicker than we actually are at the moment, because as you mentioned, we do not have any hydrogen buses in Austria at the moment. But I hope, and I really hope, that this is going to change very soon, because we work on quite a number of projects at the moment. And well, I cannot say more at the moment, but we hope there's going to be some hydrogen buses in Austria very soon.
Mm-hmm. So I cross my fingers to make these plans happen, yeah, very shortly. Not only in your case, but also talking about other cities. But could you briefly share with us also this first experience which you had from operating this hydrogen bus in the region of Villach, yeah, which was done earlier this year? What were the experience from drivers and passengers?
Well, Villach was our fourth experience when it comes to trial or testing hydrogen buses. And actually this experience or this trial had brought the same results as all the trials we've done before. We had great feedback from the drivers. Of course, it takes them a couple of days to get used to those new buses, but it's not really a big thing. They were happy with it, and they really liked this, that the buses were running smoothly, and also the noise, that there's not as much noise, of course, as in diesel buses, was very much appreciated. The passengers were super happy. The ones that were sitting in the bus, I thought it was very comfortable, and the people that were on the streets really liked it as well, because of course it's low, it's noise. It doesn't make as much noise as diesel buses do, and it was also our workshops that were happy with the buses, which is another factor that is important, because the buses, like as far as operations are concerned, we did not have any problems, any concerns. So everything runs smoothly, and we're all very, very happy with it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for sharing with us your experience from hydrogen.
Yes, and thanks to Solaris for this trial, I must add, because of course it was a Solaris bus. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's very, very nice to hear these nice words here regarding our company. But in general, I think we all of us are pretty convinced that hydrogen is or might be the future for mobility. And I think that's why I would like to ask my next question to Jorgo Chatzimarkakis, the CEO of Hydrogen Europe. I think organization who is doing a lot to make it happen, I would say, and to address correctly these challenges which you mentioned today during the discussion. Jorgo, could you tell us very briefly what is Hydrogen Europe about, for those who never met this organization before, and how you see the perspective for the hydrogen as a fuel of the future?
Well, first of all, dziękuję bardzo. Thanks very much for organizing this important event.
Dziękuję.
Cześć, cześć. So my mother has some Polish people in her family from the German side. So first of all, Hydrogen Europe is the European Association on Hydrogen Technologies. And we are proud that Solaris has been one of the first members. I personally was at your plant in Poland, I think some 4 years ago already, and I could convince myself that Solaris is a multi-talent. So you are producing all different kinds of buses, and I would also like to talk about the different technologies in order to show you that Hydrogen Europe is a cooperative partner. We are not saying that diesel buses, okay, you describe them themselves, and we know that we need to overcome that diesel time, but buses on hydrogen are not better or worse than battery buses. Battery buses are also not noisy and easy to ride because it's electronic drive. However, we understand that there is not only noise, there is also the whole supply system, the whole efficiency issue, not only efficiency in the battery, but also in the system. And we are very concerned that the European Union, many member states have done their plans based on nice ideas, but not based on the raw material, the critical raw material that you need, rare earths in the, so to say, in the battery, but also in the supply system for power. You need copper, and we don't have this for so many years to come. That is why hydrogen is an addition, especially for buses that go over longer distances and have less time to refuel. And yes, where do we get the hydrogen from? That's the right question. And this is what Hydrogen Europe is about. We want to overcome the chicken and egg dilemma. We have 304 members. As I said, Solaris is one of them. Until the end of the year, I predict that we are 325. It's industrial members covering the whole value chain, from the production of hydrogen over the dissemination via pipelines or other means, and the use in transport, as we discuss here, but also in heating in the energy system and in industry. And this is important. Would there not be, I keep stay at the Austrian example, would there not be the steel company in Austria, in Linz, that is consuming a lot of hydrogen? It would be much harder to bring hydrogen to Austria or to produce enough hydrogen. But that is going hand in hand. So the development in hydrogen for industry, for the energy system, for mobility needs to go hand in hand. And Hydrogen Europe is an association that tries to basically do that, to green engineer bigger projects that help to overcome the chicken and egg dilemma, because Silvia is absolutely right. This is the dilemma. How to make the prices go down, how to make hydrogen price go down or hydrogen be available. We are planning for the moment 4 lighthouse projects or bigger projects all over Europe, covering really also the whole geography of Europe, including Central and Eastern Europe. So Poland is one of the main areas. And what we want to do is, with these projects that we green engineer, to bring the legislation, the money, and the technology together. Because legislation is very, very important. And here I have a happy message, a good message to convey to you. The European Union, also thanks to the good discussions that we had with them, the European Commission presented the Fit for 55 package back in July. And here there is an obligatory target for all member states saying that there has to be a refueling station on hydrogen every 150 kilometers on the TEN-T network, plus in every urban node. And that's an obligation until 2030. So you see, we worked hard and we also have now a good basis, also a good financial basis, especially in countries like Poland, but also in Italy. Bolzano also has very good access to this money. The Netherlands, Bart, you know, in the Netherlands, it's always a big discussion about money. So the Netherlands is advanced. The Netherlands does not need that money, but the Netherlands needs to just continue the very high level of hydrogen applications that there are. If you ask me, Netherlands is #1 in Europe because of the applications in a very dense system, and we all can learn from you. But this is the job of Hydrogen Europe, to disseminate the good news and to make a smooth transition to a zero-emission society and economy, a realistic approach, and things go very well at the moment. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that very interesting contribution to our discussion, Jorgo, from European perspective. I would like to ask you one more question, because at the moment, as you said, on the very high political level in the European Union, hydrogen seems to be one of the most frequently discussed elements in the energy mix today and in the future. But as we could also hear from Magdalena, from Silvia, from Petra, that one of the key challenges is also legal framework, yeah, on the European level and in the country level. When you think we can expect some standardization or legal regulations in terms of using hydrogen for not only for mobility but for other applications?
Well, I mentioned this Green Deal package. They call it the Fit for 55 package. Basically, I'm a European patriot, so I live Europe, and I remember very well the impact of the internal market, Binnenmarkt. So the internal market in the European Union was the biggest impact that the history of in the history that Europeans have seen. This package now presented in July is very close to this. It's a lot of laws. It's 12 legislative proposals. It's 3,000 pages. And now the good message for us, 1,000 mentionings, more than 1,000 mentionings of hydrogen. Wow. So first of all, you see how hard we worked. Second, they take it seriously. The European Commission, the European Union takes this seriously. We have seen that some elements of this idea passed already the European Parliament. Yesterday, on Monday, there was an important vote. This week, there was an important vote about the pipeline system. So this is all in the pipeline to be really implemented. There is another very important legal issue that's coming up in December. It was planned to be called the 4th gas package. Guess how it will be called right now? The name will be Hydrogen and Decarbonized Gases Package. This will also be a huge package complementing the missing links. So you can be sure that there will be a stable and clear legal framework for all the applications, for all the buses all over Europe, and also with entailing standards, clear standards. So this is on a good way. I personally have never seen a big political system acting so fast. And this is good news. Thank you.
Thank you much. I think this is really good.
Can I add something to that?
Of course, Silvia. Yeah, please go ahead.
To legislation, I'm sorry, because there's another aspect when it comes to buses, which is really important, and that's the Clean Vehicle Directive that was issued like 2 years ago. And I would just like to tell you something about my experiences in Austria, and it basically leads to the result that the Clean Vehicles Directive has not done anything to help us in any way, which is something the European Union should take very seriously, at least not in Austria it has done or changed anything, because it said that it only applies to tendering procedures that are issued after August 2nd of 2021. And what has happened in Austria in the last 2 years, and especially in the last couple of months, we've seen loads and loads of tenders being issued, so that in fact the Clean Vehicles Directive has lost all of its teeth until the end of 2025, because all of the tendering procedures are issued. So it's not going to have any effect in Austria, and that's maybe something the European Union should have a look at, because there were good intentions with that directive, but they didn't lead to anything anywhere. So I think we need to discuss this on a European level again. Even though we have Fit for 55 right now, the European Union just needs to be aware that this one directive doesn't help bus companies.
So
many thanks.
Thank you much for this. Yeah, thank you much for these interesting voices. And as you could also see, not always fully aligned, I would say. But I think it might be a very good food for thought for Hydrogen Europe, how to make these things really happen. And hopefully, what you just shared with that, Jorgo, it sounds very promising, and this will happen in next year, opposite to what Silvia just mentioned. But going back to the, let's say, day-to-day operations, I would like to ask one more question to Petra Piffer from SASA Bolzano. From your perspective, where or what still are the main challenges in terms of hydrogen mobility in your city? And what would you advise to those operators who plan to have soon hydrogen buses? What they should focus on?
Yeah, first of all, you have to start from the perspective that this kind of technology works. So we have overcome the period where you have to try the pilot to see, does it work, doesn't it work, how does it work. This isn't no more the issue, because years of service of the buses have proved that electric and hydrogen buses are working very well. So this is not the point on operators should focus on. So they should get for granted that the buses, that the technology works. What you have to focus on is that where is and how is the system where you are, your environment, where you are working in. Because as I said before, the holistic approach is necessary in order to make the whole project sustainable. So you don't have to think about buying 5 hydrogen buses, 10 hydrogen buses, because they will never be sustainable on an economic way if you are thinking in such little numbers. You have to think in huge numbers, as someone else said before, wide scale. And it is very important that operators get in partnership with local authorities, if this energy provider or politician, or in order to get over the problem of demand and request of the system. So this is the main problem, that today you have the operators are completely alone when they have to implement a new technology, and this at this point isn't the right way because you are very slow when you do this. As said before, we see it in the JIVE project. Many countries over Europe are involved in that, and each country has its own legislation. I am very happy to hear that finally, with end of the year or soon, there will be some standardizing. We still, for example, we had our refueling station on the depot, brand new, and had a long and complicated permission process, because in Italy, the rules and the regulation are completely different, for example, to Germany, where you can much more easily build a hydrogen station. And we have to build about blocks and of walls around the station in order to keep it safe, because there isn't any regulation. So today you have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to implement the technology. And this is a huge waste of time, because all is already invented. The buses are invented, the hydrogen production is invented, but you have to get together the system, the value chain, and to have to understand what locally partners you have that can get on your project in order to be quick and efficient in implementing the system. This is a very, very important thing, because, as I always say, if we are now used to the old diesel buses, and when you make the tendering, you don't have to think about where to get the diesel from, because the whole infrastructure obviously is there. And if you would to say to an operator, okay, you buy the diesel buses and you have to buy to build up the pipeline for the diesel too, and to have maybe to buy the refinery to have your diesel, you will say this is completely nonsense. And for hydrogen, it is the same. The operators should be operating the buses, and the hydrogen producer should produce the hydrogen and provide the operators with the hydrogen. And this on a large scale will make the system efficient and sustainable from a cost point of view, because I am absolutely convinced that the cost issue isn't really an issue if you think in large enough.
Thank you much. This is very interesting, I think, and very important voice in this discussion. Bart, I would like to also ask you how it looks like from your perspective at the moment. What are the key challenges which you are facing deploying these new hydrogen buses at the moment in your fleet? You mentioned before that at the very beginning you have even the problems to register these buses. How it looks like today?
I think today that problem is all covered, because now the buses we procured are just 12-meter buses and have no trailer behind it, so that problem is covered now, I hope. But what we are looking at, and Jorgo already mentioned, is at the total cost of ownership of the bus, of the hydrogen bus versus the battery electric bus. There we see that the hydrogen bus is coming closer towards the battery electric bus, but is not there yet. And we see some very important improvements in the market, mainly on technology. The fuel cell technology will improve, or is improving, so the lifetime of the fuel cell will extend, and also the maintenance cost of the fuel cell will lower. And then you only have left one of the most important things we see at this moment is the price of the hydrogen, because now to be competitive with a battery electrical bus, the price of the hydrogen has to go down below €5 in, for instance, or at least in the Netherlands, to be competitive with a battery electrical bus.
And what is the price right now?
Now we pay €7 to €8 per kilogram.
And if I can ask the same question to Petra, what's the price of the hydrogen per kilogram in Bolzano today?
Yeah, this is still a bit higher because we have a very little production near our site. And this is exactly the point. If you are thinking about it's ours, a demonstration project, it started as a demonstration project of the hydrogen. You don't have the volumes, you don't have the scales in order to produce on the to sell it on the requested amount. I agree totally that the target should be the €5. Still, it's challenging, but it is not impossible if you plan the system in the right way.
I think, Jorgo, you have a target of pricing, yeah, but let's go back to Bart, yeah?
Yeah, I said the €5 is a maximum for us in the Netherlands. So not the target is 5, but below 5.
Yeah.
To be more specific.
And in terms of maintenance and the workshop, how it looks like in the connection?
Yeah, we do the maintenance on the hydrogen buses ourselves. So we adjusted the workshop to be able to do the maintenance in a safety manner. There's also some regulations for your workshop when you want to do the maintenance of hydrogen buses, but that's mainly the same as you did with CNG buses. So that's not new for us. And yeah, the operation of the bus is nearly the same as for a driver of a battery electrical bus. It's very silent bus, smooth driving, also for the passengers. So the mechanics and the drivers likes to operate these kind of buses.
Thank you much. It's great to hear. And let me go back for a while to Magdalena Przybyła from Konin. So as you mentioned at the very beginning, you are planning to deploy the very first hydrogen bus in Poland next year. And it's going to be, according to my knowledge, also the very first hydrogen fueling station in this country. Yeah? Where you are in this planning, in which phase you are at the moment? You have already, let's say, overcome all of the challenges related to that issue, or you are still at the beginning of this road?
We are not at the beginning of the road because now we are discussing about the contract for the price for hydrogen. And the problem is that the longer contract we will make, the price of the hydrogen will be cheaper. And as we are at the beginning of the road, we are not sure what will happen in 5 years. We believe that the hydrogen will going cheaper and cheaper, so maybe it is not very wise to sign the contract for 10 years. But we are still at the discussions and we believe that we will come by the end of the year to the lucky for all moment that will make the first hydrogen bus in Poland a big success, on which all can learn. And because we don't have any doubt that that's the way, that's the future here in Konin and in Poland also. But the problem at the very beginning is just the cost and the money. In fact, I would like to say thank you to Petra message that at the end, the money is not the issue and the main point, but you know, it's very difficult to explain to the authorities. They have to find the money for it. So we should show them that in long term, it will work and it will be a very good decision for everyone.
Thank you very much for these very interesting opinions and answers. I'm pretty sure this was a great contribution to our conference Solaris Talks. Dear viewers of Solaris Talks, I think you could just hear right now the very interesting voices in the discussion about the presence and the future of the hydrogen as a fuel for future zero-emission mobility.